Welcome to The Life of Letters, a podcast exploring the history and future of calligraphy, handwriting, type design, and all things lettering. Join me, Laura Edralin, a London-based calligrapher, as I connect with artists, historians, stationery experts, and more from around the world to uncover the stories behind the letters and the journeys of those who bring them to life. In today's episode, I'm delighted to be speaking with Marie Coleman-Johns from Made in September. Marie is a calligrapher and live event artist who helps brands elevate guest experiences through on-site personalization. Formerly in marketing, she teaches other artists how to grow their businesses through her course, Beyond the Nib, which covers marketing, pricing, and booking clients with confidence. Basically everything a professional calligrapher really needs. Yeah. Marie, firstly, a huge welcome to the Life of Letters podcast. I'm so excited to be talking to you.
Oh, Laura, thank you so much for having me. I'm equally excited to be talking with you as well.
It's so great. And it's lovely that we can do this, even though we're at other ends of the planet and different time zones, and we're still, it's not the middle of the night for somebody, or yeah, exactly. So I've been following you for quite a while as a calligrapher. It's such a lovely space on Instagram, I think, particularly in that sort of visual arts field where lots of calligraphers kind of follow each other, or lettering artists, and it's just such a lovely space. Everyone sort of cheers each other on and inspires each other. So, but I don't know a huge amount about your story, so it's lovely that we get to have a bit of a chat and explore a little bit more about who you are. And as a sort of starting point, could you tell us a little bit about how you got into calligraphy and where the name Made in September came from?
Yeah. So I'm going to try to do the short version of it, because I could probably spend the whole podcast talking about it. But so I kind of have two entry points into calligraphy. So first started when I was about 13 years old. And like a lot of girls that age, I was kind of obsessed with my handwriting and would just practice. Like I wanted to have really good handwriting, and I would like practice probably instead of paying attention in class, to be quite honest, and doodling in my notebook. And I think my practice probably got onto like some documents at home that I probably shouldn't have been scribbling on and writing on. And so my mom, was trying to channel this creative energy into a better outlet. And so for Christmas, she had gotten me a calligraphy set. I think it was like one of those broad edge, ones that you would get at like Michael's or a craft store or something like that. And she had told me a few times, like growing up, oh, you would probably love calligraphy. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't even know what that word means. But once she got me that calligraphy set, it kind of clicked, and I really did love it. Now I was 13 years old, so I didn't take it super seriously. Like I wasn't sitting there reading the book and like trying to practice the strokes. I was just looking at like sort of the exemplar and just trying to, sort of figure it out, and learning how to use the pen and everything. And then when my sister was getting married in 2008, she asked me to do her envelopes. And again, was trying to dust off that old broad edge pen, and did an okay job. I think at the time we thought it looked really nice. So looking back at it now, I'm like, oh, this is kind of cringy looking, to be honest. And then fast forward again to 2016, 2017. So I got married in 2016, and I wanted my envelopes to look like what I was seeing on Pinterest. And it wasn't broad edge calligraphy, but I didn't know what it was called at the time. I just knew it looked really pretty. And so I'm trying to mimic what I'm seeing on Pinterest, and my nice handwriting is just it's not doing it. And I couldn't figure it out. And so, I had to send out the invitations anyways. But after we got married, I was like, I really want to actually sit down and learn this. And it was a good time because the wedding planning was over, and I needed like a new creative outlet. And I knew that I had an interest in calligraphy. So I ended up buying a book off of Amazon. I got a couple brush pens and started learning modern calligraphy, and then discovered the calligraphy community on Instagram, and just kind of grew from there. So yeah, those are sort of my two entry points into calligraphy.
Yeah, I love that. I love that spark was there from such an early age, but actually you kind of go off and get distracted by lots of other lovely things, but it kind of then comes back and you're, oh yeah, I remember I was really interested in this.
Yeah, that's right.
So what about the name Made in September?
So Made in September was actually the name of a blog that I was going to do with one of my best friends. So she and I, both of our birthdays are in September. In fact, they're only a day apart. And when we were still in our 20s and blogging was like very big back then, we had talked about, we should do like a fun lifestyle blog. And we were thinking of names. And she actually came up with the name Made in September because at the time we were two single women who were made in September. I know, right?
So clever. So clever.
Yeah. And so the blog never came to fruition. We never ended up doing anything with it. But when I was starting my Instagram account for my calligraphy, I remembered how much I just loved that name. And I was like, hey, do you mind if I steal this name? And she was like, go for it. Take it. And so I've had it ever
wow.
since. Yeah.
That's brilliant. Oh, that's lovely. And that journey as well of obviously you two and all the things like we were saying, sometimes, you start something. I know you've started a podcast before and that's kind of come and gone. And there's all these little elements kind of dipping in and out of our journeys, right, as we come through. So you do a sort of modern calligraphy. Would you describe it as a modern sort of brush script?
Yeah, I do modern calligraphy. I've kind of evolved a little bit into like copperplate. I don't know if I will ever be like a full traditional script person. I really do love modern, but I noticed that the calligraphers whose modern script I admire the most have influences from copperplate and from Spencerian. So I've started learning copperplate over the past year and try to take it seriously, but I'm always like kind of adding my own adaptation on it a little bit. So I would say right now it's a blend of modern and copperplate. I don't know. It's like a mishmash.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, exactly. It's a sort of strange description of kind of what the styles are that you do when you've got so many lovely influences and you're sort of like, do I make up a new name for this? Or
modern plate.
Modern copperplate. But it's beautiful. And you do lots and lots of different things, right? You create on-site calligraphy for brands. You do live experiences for customers coming through. What are these events like? What are some of your favorite events that you've done?
Oh, wow. I mean, I've been so fortunate to do a lot of different type of events. So one of my really great clients is Maker's Mark, and they do bourbon dinners within our region. And so these are usually like 30 to 40 person events. So they're pretty intimate, and it's a very manageable event to do on my own over the course of like 3 hours. And it's just really great. Like I've worked with them so frequently that my contact has become a friend at this point. And the events are just lovely. Like you get to come and learn about how the bourbon is made, and you're having this incredible meal at like a great restaurant. And then you have this live art experience. And one of the things I love most about those type of events is because I will go around to each table and I'll talk to, the guests. I don't want people to just think I'm like a pretty face, or I'm just not a pretty face, but I'm just there to make things pretty. Like I really want this to be as much of an immersive experience for me as it is for them. And the client has really loved that I've had this sort of hands-on approach. So that's been a really great event. I would have to say, though, my absolute favorite events are the ones that I get to do with other calligraphers and artists, like multi-artist events. It's just so much fun getting to work with your colleagues, so to speak, and get to meet them in real life. And then, usually those events are like high volume events. So you're just like, cranking out the work. And I don't know, it's so much fun. You're like in this, whirlwind for a few hours together. And it's just wonderful to get to actually like meet the people that you talk to on Instagram in real life. So those are my absolute favorite events.
Yeah, I love that. And it brings that community of artists so much closer, right? Because you're, as somebody who's sort of, you're running your own business, the calligraphy is quite a solo, activity. You're kind of at home on your own a lot of the time. So you haven't got this huge team of people around you. You're not going into an office where you're sharing that space or ideas or conversations. So when you get to do those things, I bet it's just so lovely because you're surrounded by people who talk the same talk or can geek out about inks and pens and, surfaces and things like that. Talking of surfaces, could you tell us a little bit how you got into engraving letters? Because you do engraving as well, right?
I do. Yeah. So yeah, I had seen like a lot of people doing engraving kind of over the pandemic as well, like people I had been following for a while, and I knew it was something I wanted to try out. And so I finally bought myself a drill and I practiced at home for at least a good 6+ months, practicing on wine bottles and things like that, and just wanting to feel really confident in my skills. And then was it early 2022? I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to like do my first live event, and wanted to start marketing myself as a live event artist. So updated my website, took photos of some of the work I did in studio, and then finally landed that first gig. And, it was such a great learning opportunity. One, I realized I'm like, okay, this is what I really want to be doing, because I'm kind of exactly what you just alluded to a moment ago. Calligraphy is sort of a very individualistic, art form, as a lot of art forms are if you're just in your studio. And I think because I'm such an outgoing person, and we were just coming, at that point, it was like 2 years into the pandemic. I was like, I got to get out of my house. I got to get my art out of the house. Like if I do one more in studio gig, I'm going to go crazy. So doing the live events has been a lot of fun for me, but it was also very intimidating doing engraving, like not just calligraphy, but you're taking this like drill, which is kind of like a weapon almost, and you're etching on, somebody's very expensive perfume bottle in front of them for the very first time. It's like, I don't think enough people talk about it. It's scary. Like even for somebody outgoing like me, it's scary.
I mean, it's scary just doing pen to paper personally. Yeah. In front of people. I mean, let alone, final pieces in studio stuff. It's like, at least you haven't got eyes on you. But doing engraving on glass, it's just like the whole idea of it makes me feel like I couldn't do it. But so many people do. And it's such a fascinating process, right? Could you tell us a little bit more about how you do it? So are you actually drawing them out first with like a pen or pencil? I don't know what would come up on the glass.
No, that's a really great question. So it depends on the event. So let's say if I'm in like a department store and it's not super busy, I will take my time and draft it. So I usually use either a Micron pen or a Tombow Fudenosuke hard tip pen to draft it, because it comes right off. Like you don't even need to like spray it or anything. Your finger will wipe off the ink. So I'll draft and then engrave over it if I have the time. If it's like, a high volume live event and we're like, you just got to churn them out, I go freehand. Yeah, it's scary because you don't have that draft to sort of rely on. Sometimes I don't even have time to draw the baseline. So you've got to be like extra careful about making sure your, letters don't trail off. But I actually practice that at home, because that's something that is happening more and more, is like these live art experiences are becoming more popular. More brands and more marketers are starting to incorporate them into their events. And especially when you have a high volume event, you need to maintain the quality of your art as well as the speed. So I try practicing at home, like doing things quickly and without drafting it, so that when I do get on site, I can just be, as polished as possible with my calligraphy.
My God, that's amazing. So what happens if you make a mistake on glass?
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, sometimes you can salvage something, right?
Yeah.
With a calligrapher's eye, but.
Yes. Yeah. So it depends on what the mistake is. So sometimes, yes, you can salvage it. There have been like, especially if it's like kind of like a tchotchke or like a branded giveaway, usually there's extra. So if you really like, you totally misspell someone's name, you can grab another one and start over. And that's the reason why, clients, at least I encourage my clients to get a few extra, because mistakes happen. We're humans and it happens. I'm trying to think if I've ever had that happen with like a perfume bottle or something. I don't think I've had like that. I've definitely like started, veering off and caught myself before I, because it's very easy to, you're so focused on whatever it is that you might misspell a word that how to spell, you might start to, actually, I did one time, now that we're talking about it, there was one time where I had an event and it was a perfume, it was a cologne bottle actually. And the person's name, it wasn't a traditional spelling, like it was like Alex or something like that, but it wasn't like Alex, it was like 2 A's or something like that. And I just wasn't paying attention. It was written in front of me and I'm just like focused on something else and I misspelled it. And I was like, oh my God. Well, luckily, like when you're in store, they can just, use that as like the tester, so
Great.
they can what are they like not discard it, damage it, like damage it so it's used
Yeah.
as a tester. So fortunately, I don't think I've had anything where it's like completely irreversible and it's like one of a kind.
Yeah. I
Oh, that
reckon
would
you
terrify
must
me.
just get so good. Like that focus level just
Yeah.
switches on, doesn't it? And you've got something vibrating in your hand. So it's very hard to really think about much
And people are
anything
talking to
else.
you, and that's the other
Yeah,
thing. People are
that's
talking to you,
true.
and that's part of the experience is being able to converse while you're paying attention. It's a lot of things to mentally juggle.
And then do you wipe on, I've seen from Instagram
Yeah.
for reels and things that you kind of wipe on a kind of gold ink or something
Yeah.
that sits within the engraved line.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, depending on what it is, if it's like a perfume bottle or a spirits, wine or spirits bottle, you can, typically it's rub and buff or gilding wax is what you would use. That's the stuff I call it, like when I'm referring to it to a client, I just call it metallic fill because I don't know if they would know, like, those jargony type of terms. But yes, you can rub that on. If it is drinkware or anything that would be like consumable, you do not want to use it because it's toxic. And even if you run that glass through the dishwasher, you just don't know what can, the chemicals that are coming from it could, get onto the other items. So I always steer my clients or anybody away from using rub and buff or any kind of metallic fill on drinkware. But as long as it's not something that you're going to be consuming, yes, you can absolutely use the rub and buff, and it gives it really nice sheen to it.
Yeah, lovely. It's so nice that you can do so many lovely things with it.
It is, yeah.
In terms of, I guess, both sort of sides of the engraving or even, just writing on surfaces, are there particular types of materials that you really enjoy writing on? Are there I know there's like ceramics and obviously leather goods and things like that. Are there any that you've done that you're like, oh, that was really exciting?
Well, as far as leather goes, anytime you're writing or foiling on real leather, like authentic leather, that's the best, especially if it's high quality. Like that, it does make a difference. It can be smooth as butter, or sometimes you end up with what they call it, I guess, PU leather, which is essentially like either a vegan leather or like a polyurethane. Those not always like the greatest. I mean, you can make it work, but yeah, when you have like a nice buttery smooth leather, like there's nothing like that. It's just, yeah, your letters will look amazing on it.
Amazing. And you do hot foiling on those, did you say?
Yeah. You can do hot foiling, or you can deboss it, which is basically using that heat tool without the foil, and it kind of brands the leather. So that's like a really, almost like, it looks like similar to like wood burning. Basically, it has a very similar look. So you could do either way, either the foiling or debossing, and it looks really nice.
Wow. Is there anything that you don't letter on? It sounds like incredible, because you do windows and mirrors and all sorts of different things. And I've done mirrors before, and they're really hard to do, right? Because you've got the reflection back, and any moment, same with windows slightly, because there's two surfaces, isn't there? So it's sort of like, the second you move one angle of your head, you've got a different perspective.
You're absolutely right. And not all mirrors are the same. Some do have more of that reflective, not like the same like reflection like in terms of mirror, but the glass will give you sort of that double paned effect that you're kind of talking about.
That's it.
I noticed that with like a lot of like antique mirrors. So I've had like clients like will bring antique mirrors for me to letter on, which is great. I love doing that. But yeah, you get that double paned perspective, and it can be really tricky getting your letters just right. So I am grid lines, guidelines, those are my training wheels. Like I need those, especially if I'm doing signage.
Yeah. And is that, are you using like a chalk pen or a chalk on because you've got to have it super fine, right?
Yeah, I use a Stabilo pencil is what it's called. And they're great because you can get them in red, white, and black, and they work on just about any surface. And they write really well on glass, which is nice. And it kind of has like sort of like a waxy kind of feel to it. But what's really nice is that if you use like an oil-based paint pen, like a Sharpie paint pen, when you wipe away the Stabilo marks, it won't wipe away your oil-based marker.
Amazing. But then if somebody wanted to change what was on the mirror, they can then wipe off the paint pen with like a window cleaning.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Product.
Like a Windex or acetone nail polish, those usually work well. Occasionally you might need to use something like a coconut oil, believe it or not, is really good for
I've
removing.
heard about
Yeah.
coconut oil. I've also
Mhm.
recently heard about with the pointed nib and ink that you can clean the nibs with potatoes, which I hadn't heard about. This is the sort of stuff that we need to spread the word about.
These kind of tips, like that I geek out on them so much. Like, and
Me too.
there'll be things like where I'll be practicing and I'm like, oh my God, I just figured out something. And I'm like, oh, I need to like tell somebody about this tip because it's like a really big deal.
Yeah, always tell me,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
we'll fit it into the podcast somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's great. And I think when you're using so many tools, so many different on different materials and different surfaces, I mean, at some point you probably get so used to working with different things that it becomes, second nature. But I think when you're trying lots of different things and you're coming back to them, or you'll get clients that book in with you, and then maybe you don't do the kind of windows for a long time, or you don't do that kind of surface for a long time, and then you've got to come back to it, and it's all sort of, it's remembering all these little tips and tricks, isn't it, and having them up your sleeve. And I think that's a really interesting thing to mention, because I know I've spoken to a few calligraphers as well who experience lots of ADHD traits, and I think when you really struggle with some of those things, having something like calligraphy can maybe just calm your mind down a little bit.
Absolutely. I found for me, it's been obviously very meditative, and it's a great way to slow down and calm down my brain. I think just like a lot of women in general have like a million tabs open. And it can be, ADHD is one of those things where it's hard to focus, but also you want to hyper focus too. And so having a hobby or having an art skill that you really enjoy allows you to hyper focus into something that you really enjoy, which is like the great side of things. On the other side, it's really nice because it does sort of take you away from the stress of, day-to-day life. And you're focusing on those individual letter forms. You're focusing on tiny little strokes. And, I've worked in like very high pressure jobs and very high pressure corporate situations where, you have to make a ton of decisions and you've got to move really fast. And calligraphy has been so helpful for me to sort of decompress from the stresses of the day. And the other thing I want to say is that one of the reasons why I think I was really drawn to calligraphy is that to me, it is the most approachable fine art form, because everybody knows how to write. Everybody knows how to hold a pen, and everyone knows how to write letters. Now, you may not have great handwriting. You may have horrible handwriting, but you know how to write letters. You know how to write words. I'm not a very good drawer, and I have to practice drawing over and over for it to like really stick for me. And obviously you have to practice calligraphy to get really good at it. But I just find that it's so approachable, and it's one of those things that like when people say, oh, I'm not creative, start with calligraphy, because I guarantee you actually are creative. Start with calligraphy because it's not, to me, as intimidating as some other type of fine art forms.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this feels like it could be a whole nother episode. But,
I know.
I totally agree. And I was thinking about this earlier today. I do a little bit of watercolor. I try and create other art things, but I stare at a blank piece of paper. I've got 300 ideas, and I just think, I don't know which one I'm going to do and which style I'm going to do. And is the leaf going to be this green or that green? And it's sort of slightly overwhelming. And I can't get onto paper the whole picture of what I want to do when there isn't like a format to it. Whereas with calligraphy, there is, the foundations, you're building, you're writing words, you're creating words, you're constructing them out of these rules, and then you can get creative from there, right? It removes a lot of that overthinking and overwhelm, I think, that lots of people suffer with.
That's a really great way to put it. Is it does remove a lot of that overthinking. And even if you're struggling with like, what do I start writing? Just write your name. Start with your name.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
You can always build on from there. But yeah, that's a really great point.
And our theme for this series is all around community. And I know that not only do you support other calligraphers to kind of level up their business with resources. But you're also a big part of the Calligraphers of Colour community that we've got fellow calligrapher Amanda Reed started, it was all about highlighting more diversity within the calligraphy world, right? Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about the community, because you've got quite a strong part to play in it?
Yes. So big shout out to Amanda Reed, who started Calligraphers of Color and started the community. It's been a really great way to connect with other calligraphers from different backgrounds. And a couple years ago, I want to say it was like 2 years ago, we updated the website. So we have a really great website. And then we also have a Black Calligraphers directory. So Amanda was getting contacted from different brands who, especially coming out of like the Black Lives Matter protests, wanted to diversify their suppliers and vendors. And so she started the Black Calligraphers directory, which is like a really great opportunity to share that with brands who, specifically are looking for Black and brown artists to partner with. So yeah, it's been wonderful to be part of this community. And it's really cool because it's a great way to get introduced to calligraphers and artists who you might not necessarily know about, especially if they have like smaller followings on Instagram, but have a lot of talent. So it's a really great way to, get to meet other people and just, know that there's people who look like you who are also doing this type of work. So it's been really wonderful.
100%. And I know, when you start exploring all these different areas, especially when you've got maybe more traditional societies or maybe people of older generations, which may not be kind of representative of the actual diverse kind of artists that are out there. And I think it's really great that there are these platforms, and hopefully it's giving a little bit more awareness and bringing those people through. But also it's another community, isn't it? It's another space where we're, it can be supporting each other, and you can be sharing all these geeky, lovely things about how to do things. But yeah, exactly. It's the same as when you're on, Instagram and finding other people who do maybe things that you're interested in, or maybe do things that you haven't learned before. And it's following those people who aren't just, the huge numbers, but maybe doing something with great talent. And that's the great thing about Instagram as well, isn't it? It's got such a visual side, and you can get to connect with these people. No, that's great. And it's a brilliant platform, and I've been on the website, and it's great because you've got a lovely directory, and you can kind of see where everybody's from, and there's a huge selection of lots of different people. So yeah, hopefully that's giving lots of people more options, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it really is like just so great. And growing up, I'm a light-skinned Black woman. And so growing up, I went to schools that were predominantly white. And I remember being like a little kid in school, and I would like count the other like Black kids, and usually I could count on one hand, like how many other Black kids were in the school. And so I kind of felt that way when I entered the calligraphy community. I was seeing a lot of either white artists, or I was seeing a lot of like Asian artists, but I wasn't seeing a lot of Black artists. I wasn't seeing a lot of Latino artists. And so it's been really great, especially for Amanda to have had this brainstorm to, create Calligraphers of Color and bring it to fruition and make it into something that has become just this very multi-ethnic and wonderful community where we can, get to know each other and, applaud one another and see that there is so much diversity in our industry. So it feels very personal to me, obviously, but it's just really been so great seeing like how many people have also embraced the community.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. And hopefully much more of it. And I think as well, it's having those people championing this, because it's a lot of work just getting the website, and between you all, you've got things running in the background, and it takes time and it takes effort, and it's incredible to have people doing all this work. So yeah, it's a great space. People should go and check it out. Yeah. You also have a new course as well, Beyond the Nib. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I guess I should start by saying that, I have a deep marketing background. I've worked in corporate marketing for 18, 19 years, actually. I'm aging myself. And I started doing social media for brands in 2010. So like literally like the infancy of social media. Instagram was just becoming a thing at that point. And so I had built my career doing, marketing and social media, and started applying like what I was learning through work and through the campaigns that I was supporting, started applying that into my business, and really started seeing results, especially in 2023 and 2024. I got promoted at work, which was a great opportunity, but it also meant I did not have as much time or frankly energy to devote to like growing and scaling my business. But I wanted to keep doing these live events. Like I absolutely love doing them. And so I really leaned into actually building out the SEO on my website, just building out my brand presence too. I did like a brand photo shoot for the first time. I updated my website and then focused on SEO. And those things, along with like just really focusing on like what my brand messaging was, and then also doing some networking kind of on the back end of things, those things have really helped sort of catapult my business, so that in 2023 and 24, when I was frankly very stressed out in my new role as a new people leader and in my new promotion, I didn't have to worry about growing my business. My business was passively growing, with me barely doing, anything to maintain it. So I've seen how marketing and doing business development, like strategically, can work for your business. And, people would reach out and ask me questions. And for a little while I was doing, like one-on-one sort of like coaching sessions, like more like strategy sessions. But I didn't really have the time to devote to doing it, like continue doing one-on-one. So I didn't really actively promote it. Like people would occasionally be like, Marie, I was on your website and I saw you had this like hidden thing. I know. I was like, well, here, let's have a conversation, but don't tell anyone about it because I don't have time to like do it one-on-one for everything. And so many people will be like, you should come out with a course, you should do a course, you should do a course. And so I left my job last year and really want to just kind of take my time to like figure out what I want this course to be. Because marketing is a huge world. Like there are courses about very individual things, within marketing. There's courses just about Instagram, not even like social media, just Instagram. There's courses that are just about SEO. And so I really wanted to take my time to figure out, okay, what is the most important information and impactful information that I can put in the course that's also not going to overwhelm people, because I am very, very prone to burnout. I have ADHD. I struggle with anxiety. Obviously, I want to continue growing my business, but it can feel very daunting if you feel like, oh, I've got to be on this channel and I've got to be posting this and I have to have an email newsletter and I have to.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. And so I built the course with very specific information that is you can easily apply to your business, and you can pick and choose. You don't have to do everything all at once. You can just focus on, okay, I'm going to take what I've learned in this lesson and I'm going to apply it. And then once you're ready, you can come back to a different lesson and you can take that information and apply it. So this isn't like a sprint. It is a marathon. This is long-term. And so it's built with sustainability in mind for my students.
That's great. And I presume aiming it at calligraphers, or I guess
calligraphers and live events artists. Yeah.
Live event. Okay. Yeah.
I'm a calligrapher, so that's what I kind of focus on the most. But I know there's a lot of people who do like bottle painting and fashion illustrations and other live art. I had somebody who does embroidery reach out to me, and she does it for live events, which is really cool. So I use calligraphy as like a reference point, but it's for live event artists. You don't have to be a calligrapher to do the course. It's not as much focused on weddings. It's really focused on like brand and like corporate events, and if you want to grow that side of your business.
Yeah. Amazing. So that course is going to be up on your website, and if you're following Marie, then you'll see hopefully lots of lovely stuff on Instagram, and we can share things as well. So I just want to say a huge thank you for joining me today, because it has been an absolute delight meeting you. And especially, I think you were one of the very first calligraphers when I started my calligraphy journey that I followed. And So it has been.
Me?
I know. Well, we're all sitting there, right, thinking, what? But this is what it's all about. It's about inspiring other people and hearing other people's journeys, and just getting to meet fellow calligraphers and fellow letter lovers in whatever way that comes out. So thank you so much. And to find out more about Marie, we're going to put the website up, but it's Maiden September. Maiden.
Yes, like a single woman, Maiden.
Maidenseptember.com, but it's also your Instagram handle as well, so you can find it there. And we'll put everything in the show notes. You're on LinkedIn as well, which is a great place to be, I presume, when you're doing live events and brands and things like that. So such a pleasure. Thank you so much,
Laura. Thank you so much, and thank you for creating this place for us to gather and geek out and nerd out, talking about all things calligraphy and letters. Like, there just aren't enough, opportunities for us to learn from one another, and so I feel really grateful that you have created this format, and I hope everybody enjoys these conversations. I certainly have been.
Oh, thank you, Marie. Thank you so much for listening. If you're enjoying the podcast, please subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a fellow lettering enthusiast. And for all the details to connect with us, check out the show notes. A huge thank you to my producer, Heidi Cullop, for ensuring this podcast reached your ears. And finally, to all the guests featured in this series. Go check them out.